Hi. Hey. What's up, dude? Hiya. What's up? I hope you're having a shit one. Sorry, I don't really know how I want to start these videos out. I mean, after all, this is like my first, I guess technically first like tutorial video. And if it looks like I look like I'm an Antarctic explorer, it's because I feel like one. Because I left my window open in this room because it smelled like Fritos from my dog. And if you know, you know. Anyways, about a month ago, I took some product shots for the Sauce Boss. And if you don't know what the Sauce Boss is, they are a hot sauce company. I have one right here, actually. Now, I've been shooting product for quite a while, and I'm still actually learning a lot about it. I mean, new techniques, there's different ways of shooting things. There's some certain techniques that make things easier, some techniques that make things a little bit more complex. But as I was scrolling through the depths of the Instagram hellhole, aka Reels, which I suck at, but they are super entertaining to watch, I came across this video right here. I'll put it up on the screen right now. Now, I've done product photography where I've made things float in the past, but this was actually a really good idea, especially when I was supposed to be shooting the hot sauce with ghost peppers and all the ingredients that were in it. I didn't want to just throw a bunch of ghost peppers in my room. Well, technically this isn't my room, this is like my studio, which is basically a second bedroom in a basement, which I live in. So instead of letting all of the ghost pepper flakes and gases just go loose in this room and suffocate me to death, I went to Home Depot and I bought some acrylic panes of, I guess they're glass. Well, it's not really glass, it's like a safety glass, so it doesn't shatter or anything like that. I'll show it in the video here in just a second. But I wanted to show you how I kind of shot that, not with hot sauce though, with something even better. This, ladies and gentlemen, is Cushcube. Now, Cushcube is still a relatively newer company, and what's awesome is I am the content creator for them. So all the stuff that you'll see on their Instagram page, everything you see on their Instagram page that looks professionally done is done by moi, and all the photos that are on their website as well. Now, if you don't know what these are basically edibles. There's Delta-9 THC in them, and CBD. So they're THC and CBD gummies. And I gotta tell you, they will f you up. Now, I've already taken some product shots of just the main flavors that they have. I will put them up right here. Bam, 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 bam. Actually, I probably should have done that with camera shutter clicks. So let's retry that again. Anyways, in today's video, I thought it'd be a cool idea to make it look like these are floating, since these are a THC gummy. You know, because when you're high, you feel like you're floating or whatever. I don't know, maybe you don't really feel like you're floating. I took one of these before I started making this video, so I'm sorry if this goes all crazy. But yeah, so let's just get into it. Now, the first thing, obviously, I haven't been in here and shot in here for quite a while. I've been doing a lot of lifestyle photography. So, first we got to set up everything. The one thing that is incredibly helpful for me is having a standing desk. Now, this one is one just from IKEA, and it's got like the buttons on it that raise it up and lower it. But unfortunately, for some reason, when I plugged it in, it wouldn't work. Well, I don't know what happened to my desk, so I'm going to try to figure that out, because it's really helpful when you can lift it up and down. So I don't know if it's broken or if it was just loose or something. I have no idea. So we just kind of had to keep it a little bit lower today. But it's nice when especially when you're shooting product, instead of bending down over something, when you're doing like some top-down shots or, you know, whatever. It's always nice to have the little button to push so that it goes up and down. Now, for these shots specifically, the background of it, I chose white. You'll see I'll change it to yellow a little bit later. That's just a little spoiler alert, I guess. The background needs to have like a curve to it, and the reason why is just because if you had it just straight underneath, it would cast a lot of harsh shadows, which you don't really want. At least in this photo, I don't really want. There's some other product photos in, you know, that I have for the Sauce Boss and everything that have shadows, but that just kind of adds to that photo, and they're also standing up, it's not just a top-down shot. So to be able to curve that, what I did was I got these Apache cases. You can get these at Harbor, or what is it called? Yeah, Harbor Freight. They're like 60 bucks. And they have like the peel out foam inside of them. They're super sick, so you can just put whatever you want in there. Way cheaper than a Pelican. That's what I put the majority of my gear into. But I stacked those up on the sides. That way I had a little platform so that I could fold that background underneath. Another thing that is super important. Now, the acrylic panels that I got from Home Depot. You can get them down your window aisle. Now, I suggest that you get something that is shatter resistant at least. Now, the acrylic panels are pretty expensive, and I have 3 of them. They're about 80 bucks a piece. They might even be like 90 bucks a piece, I think. I can't really remember. But I actually tried using just picture frame glass. It was like the replacement stuff. You get that at Home Depot too. But one shattered as I was opening it, and it sliced my foot open, and I was gushing blood everywhere. I thought I was gonna die. Not really, but it like pretty much just dropped and put a hole in my foot, and it hurt, and it still hurts, and that was about like a month ago. So if you can, just get shatterproof stuff. Now what I've had these for a while, so what I have to do is just kind of Windex them down. That way there's not too many streaks and stuff. If there's some stuff on there, it's okay. You can remove it in Photoshop pretty easily, but I like to make sure they're as clean as possible before I actually start putting them together. Once I get them cleaned off, I actually got these from Home Depot as well to kind of separate the panes of glass from actually touching each other. That way I can layer them up. Where did I put them? These are incredibly cheap. All they are is just like the PVC fittings. You can get them at Home Depot. I think these are like $1 a piece. And then what I put on the edges of these were just like the furniture things that you put underneath furniture so that it doesn't scratch your floors. But that's totally not necessary. I just wanted to get it so it resisted from scratching the glass, but you could just do it without these and it would be no problem at all. But you could see how I put them in between each of the layers. That way it spaces them out pretty evenly. That way I can still fit the product under there, and I can fit my arm under there too if I wanted to put product in a different spot. One thing that is super duper duper important when you're doing some top-down shots with a reflective surface, I had to learn this the hard way, is you have to have something dark that is covering your camera or covering the ceiling. That way you're not getting reflections of your camera or like the boom pole or whatever, the top-down pole. I don't even know what to call that thing. But anyways, that way you're not getting a reflective surface at the top and you're not seeing all that garbage that you don't want to have to edit out because that's going to be a pain in the ass. So what I did is I went to my local hobby store and I bought just this foam board. And what I had to do was just put a little hole in it, about the size of the camera lens that I was using. I'm using the 24-70 2.8 RF lens. And I poked it right through, and you could see I was holding it up basically with what these things are right here. It's like the backdrop stands. There's probably different ways that you could do it, but that's just the only thing I have that is useful and easy just to set up and do without it like falling down or worrying about something, you know, falling and breaking something. But how I hold them up is I use the clamps. You can get them from your local camera shop. You can get them on Amazon. They're super cheap. The ones I got were from my local camera shop, and they were like $5 a piece. So they're super cheap. That is like the most underrated piece of camera equipment that you could ever use in your entire life. That and sandbags, actually. And now you can see this is basically how the setup is gonna look. I put the product in between the top and the middle panel of glass. That way, it wasn't too reflective, it wasn't too low either. I wanted to make it look like it's floating, and I wanted to put some gummies at the bottom of it too. That way it looked like it was higher up than the actual gummies were. You know, just to give it some depth. And then this is all trial and error. I had the lights up, but you might have to play with them. I mean, I still don't know exactly where I want to put lights once I set up everything. A lot of the times it's just trial and error. And the way that I'm capturing all these images is on Capture One. I'm using tethering to do that, and Capture One is one of the best softwares that you can actually use to tether your stuff to. It's awesome. Even the editing in it is actually pretty sick. I'll be editing in Lightroom though, because I'm just used to it and I like to do it that way. But all you have to have is just a tether cable from the camera going straight into your laptop, and it's freaking sick. It's like a game changer. I used to just have to like use the remote, but then I couldn't see the screen on my cameras. It was so shitty. But once you get your lighting set up and everything like that, all you have to do is you can go actually into Capture One and change your camera settings. Now, when I have to set something to 100 ISO, which is most of the time, and I'm just using these lights instead of a strobe, I have to bring the shutter speed down quite a bit just to let more light in. Now, I also want to change the f-stop to something around 8 to 12 just because I want everything to kind of be in focus. But later on, I'm going to actually add some in that are out of focus as well, just to add that depth to the photo as well. And then again, a lot of this is trial and error with where you're placing the product too. Every time I place something new into an image, I always like to take a photo just to make sure that everything's in the right place. But even if it's not in the right place, you could take it into Photoshop later and either expand it, make it bigger. You can move it around too if you want. That's the reason why I take them separately, just because it's easier in post. But another trick I like to use, this is actually how I usually do floating product shots, is I would get these little skewers that you can find at Walmart. They're just like the marshmallow skewers they use for camping. But basically, all you have to do is stick them on there and then place them where you want and then take a picture, and then place another one where you want, take a picture, place another one where you want, take a picture, place another one where you want, take a picture. You can do that as many times as you want. But after I've set up all the gummies on the actual glass, I'll actually take some of those skewers and place a few more shots. Now, it's gonna take a minute to kind of get the shots where you want it, but don't even worry about where you're placing the stick, because you can remove that super easy in Photoshop. Now, once you get all the shots that you need, now it's the fun part. It's the editing time. Actually, editing is kind of the worst part, but I make it as simple as possible, and you'll see why. Let's go into Lightroom and check it out. So, here we are in Lightroom, and as you can see, the backdrop has changed from white to yellow, and that is because I already tried uploading them into Lightroom, and I absolutely hated what it looked like with the white backdrop. To me, honestly, I think white is way overused for like a shopping cart or for like product shots that are on Shopify, or which is where these are going to be. So I always decide to choose a color. I don't even know why I did white to begin with, but all I did was switch out that white one for a yellow one, and this is what they look like. So now basically what we got to do is just choose the photo that we want to use as like our main photo. Now, as you can see, there are little reflections and stuff, but those are going to be super easy to remove once we bring them into Photoshop. So I'm just going to stick with this one. This one looks good. We'll just do a quick little edit to these things. We don't want to change the colors too much, so like I've got all these different presets over here, some that I've made, some that I've bought. It's funny because with presets, I always just use the ones that I end up making. I've never used any of the ones that I've actually bought, which is crazy. But that just goes to show that not everybody's preset work for what you're doing. Anyways, let's do a quick little grade on these things for you. Bring the contrast up a little bit. Yellow just makes it pop a little bit more too. And a lot of these weren't actually like a yellowish color. Some of them are a little bit harder to see, but we can maybe fix that here in a little bit. Bring the shadows. Let's bring the shadows down just a tad. Bring the whites up a little bit. With the blacks, with this brand, I usually do bring the blacks down just because they do have a lot of reflective packaging. And I just feel that if the blacks are a little bit too high, it just looks, I don't know, it just doesn't look as good. It adds a little bit more contrast to the photos too, so I bring the blacks down quite a bit. Texture, I always bring to the softer side of things, which is to the left. Give it a little less texture, because if you bring it up here, it just brings it a little too textured for me. I like to bring it down, maybe like negative 15, 16 area. I always bring the clarity up with this brand too. Sometimes I won't mess with the clarity too much, but in this case I will. The dehaze, I'm not going to touch too much. Vibrance, I always bring up quite a bit if it's on a white backdrop. For the yellow, not so much, so I'm just going to bring it up. Well, actually, I'm not even going to do anything with it. Or sorry, the vibrance, yes, I'm going to bring up to probably, I don't know, +5 is probably good. So let's mess with the mid-tones just a little bit. Saturation, I'll bring up just a little bit on each one, too. There's not really any green. Not going to mess with any of the grades here on the mid-tone shadows or the highlights. Noise reduction with the luminance, I'll bring up a little bit just in case there is grain, but like I said, we were shooting at ISO 100, so we shouldn't have to bring it up too much, but I always just like to add it in there. With vignetting, I will probably bring up, well, actually I might just keep it with the darker vignette. Yeah, we'll do that. Perfect. And then this, I do maybe want to change the blue primary just a tad bit. Actually, I might bring it up to at least like -25. Looks good. Sweet. So then another thing that I'm going to do is when I'm cropping these, I'm just going to press the crop tool, press X to make it vertical since this is going on Shopify and this is going to be like a shopping cart photo. I'm going to do that, and I'm also going to crop it to a 4:5 ratio, which is kind of what, at least from what I know, Shopify prefers. And now that we have all that set, actually I'm going to do one more thing. Let's see, do a brush here. Boom, just like that. I always like to do this, and then what you can do, Lightroom is like a game changer with this thing. Subtract from the subject, and it'll leave the subject out, but you're able to kind of, you know how the fancy photo stuff where you can add a little bit of light into the background. I think that looks sick, so we'll keep it like that. Copy everything. We should have already done that. Boom, make sure all that's selected, and then we're just going to select all these and paste it on those. Boom, look at that sexy looking stuff. Those look great. Looks so sick, actually. I love it. Boom, 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 boom. Awesome. So now all we got to do is select all these, bring them into Photoshop. Okay, so now that we are in Photoshop, they're all uploaded here. The first thing I always like to do is choose the one picture that you like that doesn't have anything that you had to add in there that's floating, like with the sticks. So this is just a plain background that we've got the establishing stuff in here. And now what I like to do is just clean it up with the clone stamp. I started a little bit right here just so you can see, but as you can tell, there's some stuff over here. So all you do is click S on your keyboard and then Option or Alt, depending on what kind of a computer you have, and then just start painting it in. I'm just going to skip through this real quick though. I'm just showing you the steps that I usually take first, just to make sure everything is good when we start editing it. And then the one thing I definitely do want to do too is get rid of these reflections. It should be pretty easy. Some of them might take a little bit of tweaking, but all we really want to do, select the lasso tool, draw around it. Perfect. Edit. Content aware fill. Now usually it does a pretty good job. You can see it over here. I'm just going to apply that, and I'm going to press OK. Nice, that looks great. So I'm just going to go around, do it to all of these with the reflections on them, and then we can get started on the fun stuff. So let's just do this real quick. I'm going to speed this up or just skip to the next part. Awesome. So now that I got most of the reflections done, at least as far as I could see, you guys can take a little bit longer on that part though too if you wanted. I'm just going to do it, you know, kind of half-assed so that just so I can finish this video without making it like an hour long. But there are some things I needed to clean up over here too. I'm going to do that really quick as well, just to kind of get it looking as good as I can. Now comes the fun part. What you want to do is you're going to have a bunch of these different layers from that content aware fill. Usually what I do is I just like to select them all, press shift, go to the bottom, and then press Control G, and what that does is just put it into a group. But what we want to do is we want to start bringing these over. Now all you have to do with these is pretty simple. All you do is click the picture, drag it up to this layer, and drop it, and then all you gotta do is just kind of line them up. You'll be able to tell once it's got that little X going through it right here. And now the fun part, all you do is make sure this layer is selected, add a new layer mask, and then make sure it's on black. Press B to get your brush, and you just start painting away that stick. Now you got to go all the way around this thing, this little gummy right here, so you can get your brush up, you know, make it bigger, do whatever, and then just paint over the whole picture. That way it leaves everything clean underneath as well, from everything that you had already cleaned and that you've already kind of touched up. And then you'll be able to see what you're missing over here. You just go over here and look at your layer mask, and then you can just grow the brush a little bit bigger, go over it quickly, boom, boom, boom. And that's pretty good for now. So all we gotta do is just keep doing the same thing for all of them. I'm gonna bring this one over, press V to get the selector tool back, boom, bring it over, boom. Make sure it's in the center. Oh shit. Make sure it's in the center. Where is it? Perfect, right there. Do the same thing, layer mask, press the brush tool, and paint over the whole thing again. Boom, look at that. It's like freaking magic. Now, there are some different ways you could probably do this. This is just the way that I like doing it. There's probably quicker ways that I just don't know how. If you know of any quicker ways, you should let me know, so I don't waste my time doing this. Let's just finish this one up. And you guys can take your time too on this, like I said. You can tell the camera moved just a little bit on this one, but it's not going to make a big difference, to be honest with you. So I'll just make sure everything is brushed up. Technically, once you see that everything looks good and the stick's removed and there's no reflections or anything like that, you don't even have to finish doing all this unless you want to. The only thing that I would suggest is if you are going to make the gummy bigger, and I'll show you kind of what I mean, Control T or Command T, whatever, you could see that when I make it bigger and I can move it around, it's still going to show the spots that I missed. So unless you're going to do something like that, you don't have to worry about this too much. And what's cool too is once you bring one of these over to this layer, it's always going to be on top, so you can just work your way down. But sometimes what you can do too is, if you want to make it look like a lot of these things are falling, I'll show you that too, so that you could add some motion blur to everything. It makes it look actually pretty sick. Boom. And there you have it. It looks like it's all floating, cool, you know. And now all you got to really do, once you realize everything's like touched up and it's the way you want it, whatever. I mean, I could move this one. Let's see what we can do with that one, just because I'm going to be a little picky. Know what I mean? Command T. Right there. Yeah, we'll move it right there. Cool. Now all you really got to do is just get the brush out again, and then just paint, you know, a little bit more of the details out of it. Oh, and then I was gonna show you the motion blur thing. So with this selected, the actual photo, all you're gonna want to do is go to Filter, Blur, Motion Blur, and then you can adjust this to whatever you want. And so as you can see right here, it's changing as you do this, right? You could add a little bit, you can add quite a bit. And then what I would do is I would just duplicate this layer and then stack them on top of each other, and then just press Control T again and then move them just slightly That way it looks like it's falling down, if that makes sense. But I'm not going to add any motion blur to that because it's already pretty blurry. But that is it. And then all you got to do, boom, save, go back to Lightroom, and 3, 2, 1, 1, 1, 1. Sometimes it takes a minute, especially when you have a lot of layers like that. Boom, there it is right there. And then you can make some little necessary adjustments if you want. If you want to crop it again, just down a little bit, boom, like this. That's how I'm going to do it, to be honest with you. Boom. And that is it. Look at that sexy beast that we just created. So that's a way you can make things look like it's floating in Photoshop. And now, if you wanted to do it too, you didn't even have to have the pane or like the acrylic glass. You could have just stuck all of them on a stick and then just held all of these at different angles. But I do like having at least just one of those acrylics to at least put the product on. That way it looks like that is floating. That's a little bit harder to do, but I mean, you could just stick that on a stick too and just hover it and then take a picture of it too. Either way, there you have it. I'm gonna go back to my talking head because he is a handsome son of a bitch, and I will end the video with him. All right, peeps, well, that is it. It's that simple. It may take a little bit of time, but I like to keep everything as simple as I can, but also complex. I'm kind of weird like that. But I hope you learned something. I hope you guys can take this tutorial. Hopefully it's not too shitty for being my first one, and you can take it and apply it to the real world. I will be making a little bit more tutorials as well about product photography and just lifestyle photos for products as well. So stay tuned for that. Now, if you haven't already, I would love the support. Have a like down at the bottom or click the like button, however you want to say it. Subscribe to my channel, share this video if you thought it was helpful, and then comment down below what product you might want to see me shoot next. Or just comment something, you know, fun or cool. Or you can talk shit on me, I really don't care. But thank you guys for watching. Love you much, and I'll see you in the next one.